Everyone had drawn a line on their own shoes. As long as they kept their eyes on that line while walking, and made sure it stayed aligned with the center of the metal beam, they could maintain perfect balance. But things weren't that simple. Mark suddenly began to sweat. A single drop fell onto the beam below. The moment it landed, a surge of electricity burst through the steel, and Mark, at that exact moment, was standing dangerously high in the air. He immediately lost his balance, but luckily, managed to steady himself just in time. Only by successfully crossing the beam could they claim the prize, a voucher worth 10 million yuan. But just as Mark regained his balance, his body suddenly trembled. At this terrifying height, just one glance down was enough to fill a person with paralyzing fear. Everyone was frozen by what they saw, their minds buckling under the pressure. Then it seemed like a strong wind had picked up in the sky. If true, it would mean their opportunity was slipping away. Everyone grew more nervous, but in the next moment, Mark realized something was wrong. There was no wind at all. Everything they felt was just an illusion, a hallucination brought on by fear. Mark quickly calmed himself and shouted his teammates' names, urging them to refocus. But the fear of death had already taken over. It flooded their bodies, slowly breaking them down. One teammate finally snapped. Desperate to retreat, he panicked, slipped, and fell. Just minutes later, two people had already lost their lives. The remaining contestants were drowning in hopelessness. Mark shouted to the organizers they would forfeit the prize if they could just be brought to safety. He begged them to turn off the electricity, but Porter only laughed. He mocked them all as fools, saying there was no turning back. Not anymore.
ずれた命乞いだ。ギブアップ？真剣勝負にそんなものあるか、バカどもが。病気だな。
His words caused another teammate to lose control. In a blind panic, they instinctively reached out to grab the beam. In an instant, a jolt of electricity surged through them. Their body convulsed, burnt to a crisp right there. Each horrific moment only deepened the terror. One by one, more teammates fell. Eventually, only 3 out of the original 10 remained. Then, one middle-aged man handed his 10 million yuan voucher to Mark. He said he had only joined the competition to help pay off his son's debt. Mark accepted it. The man told him to keep moving forward. But after just a few steps, Mark turned around. The man was gone. He hadn't made a sound. He'd jumped willingly, not wanting to burden the others. He had lived his life timid and quiet, but this time, he had shown true courage. Mark was shaken to his core. And then, the wind returned, stronger now. Just as the finish line was in sight, a blonde young man lost his balance, but he refused to give up. The prize was too great. And in the end, he won. He reached the end, but there was no door handle on the window. Mark felt a wave of unease. Inside the window, he saw faces, grinning cruelly. They were the rich sponsors of this deadly game. Just as the blonde guy reached for the window, the wealthy spectators rolled up their sleeves.